Welcome to another episode of Curtain Call Conversations. I'm here today with Victoria Hamilton-Barritt, who is just about to open, well, next week in Bronco Billy, the musical, as Constance Lily. How are you this morning?
I'm doing really, really good. I'm excited because today is the sitz probe of Bronco Billy. So this is like mega exciting, super exciting, because this is where it all kind of comes together.
Yeah.
And it can be a bit emotional, the sitz probe, because all the elements are forming, just before the tech. So I've got a feeling it's going to be a good day
Yeah.
today.
So tell us, I mean, this is a new musical, really exciting. It's going to be on at the Charing Cross Theatre. Tell us a
Yeah.
bit about the show for people that don't know of it.
Okay, well, with Bronco Billy, you've got to prepare yourself for disco and
Yeah.
cowboys. And if you like those two elements, I think you're going to have a really good time. Add
Sold.
the third element, which add the third element, which is slapstick comedy.
Ah.
You're going to be ecstatic. And that is Bronco Billy in a nutshell. I want you to envision the Muppets. So nothing is taken too seriously.
Okay.
And it is just one big heap of fun. But then obviously we've got the crucial message of the show, which is about good always wins over the bad. Good morals will shine through and conquer the day. So you can guess who's bringing the bad and the negative element to the story. You can guarantee it's Victoria Hamilton-Barritt over here. Not pigeonholed at all, am
Not
I,
at
Emma?
all, not at all.
But I'm excited, and I love bringing that energy to pretty much every show that I do. I think for the last 7 years now.
Yeah,
It's just
it's
been
yeah, it's
that
clear.
naughty force in
Yeah, I mean, it's
production.
clearly something that you enjoy and that you perhaps relish in a character. So tell us about Constance. What is she like apart from being probably evil?
Yeah, I think Constance is everything that you want from this kind of story. And she's the money grabber. She's that gold digger type, marrying into wealth. And she's out to get what she thinks is her inheritance.
Ah,
But of course, the daughter of the father of who Constance Lily married, um, she's fighting her battle, and it's just purely by principle. It's not because Antoinette is a greedy sort, but it's the principle, of who she is. She's the heiress to this massive empire, this chocolate candy bar empire. And it's just, yeah, this is the story, and the story is built up on these elements. And Constance Lily has her sidemen, her wingmen,
right.
and she causes absolute carnage. She's like the poor man's Marilyn Monroe. And
Sounds
well, yeah, I mean,
fabulous.
she wishes, and yeah, she's everything, every cliche that you could think of the wicked stepmother. It's again stepping into that wicked stepmother role,
Yeah,
um, which I'm beginning to notice a pattern now of what been happening over the
yeah,
last few years. But
yeah.
yes, hopefully one day we will be able to paint a stepmother in a nicer light.
Yeah, I
But for
mean, yeah,
now,
they are.
again, it is, yeah. For now, it is stepping into that Cinderella story, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the casting that you've got for this is fantastic. I mean, Taryn, for one, is
Yeah.
incredible. His vocals are next level. I've been lucky enough to see him perform before. And Emily, of course. Have you worked with either of those before?
I have. So me and Taryn have been following each other for the last while, because we did the Odyssey together at the National Theatre just
Ah,
in the summertime, which we had an absolute ball doing. That was through Public Acts, through the National Theatre.
yeah,
So that's where we first came across each other, with working with each other.
yeah,
And I just adore him to bits and pieces. Now we're in this production where he gets to lead.
yeah,
Uh, the production in this character of Billy, and he's just absolutely sublime. I don't think there's anything that Taryn can't do, and he really just has that leading man,
mm,
um, strong backbone that this production needs.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
think everyone is going to be so thrilled when they see what he's bringing to the table in this heartwarming character.
Yeah, I mean, he is a massive talent, as you've said. Let's
He's a
talk about your
force.
yeah, exactly. Let's talk about your career then. I mean, you touched on, the evil stepmother role. And of course, we all know that you were in the Cinderella, Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cinderella. I mean, how was that for
Classical,
you?
yeah. Oh, it was a busy old time, as you know, because we
Yeah,
were trying to put a show on during COVID and it kept on getting put back, and I think with all the elements of just COVID being absolute carnage for
yeah.
everyone,
Mm,
putting on a big West End show in that time, the carnage kind of, I guess, followed us, in
yeah.
all honesty. Um, and we tried as hard as we could. We were very lucky that we got brilliant reviews. And to this
Mm,
day, I
yeah.
like to be a firm reminder of that we got sensational reviews.
Mm,
And I think it was really great. And then obviously there was twists, turns, and roundabouts, with the production, which was made
yeah.
aware in the press, which I think if anyone is a West End fan of, they'll be aware of the
Mm,
turbulence and roundabouts that we encountered along the way. But all in all, I had a wonderful time
yeah.
with Cinderella. I really, really did. I was so lucky. I was in a fortunate position where I got to create the character
Mm,
from quite a few years beforehand in the early process of workshopping and
yeah.
and act, alongside Emerald Fennell, who was the writer, and
Yeah.
Andrew Lloyd Webber himself. So I had a really big part, and so did Carrie Hope Fletcher, who played Cinderella,
Yeah.
as you know. It was really, really a lovely magical time in that whole build up of putting the production together,
Yeah.
where we had a big sway in many things, where the music went and also where the book went. So anywhere where you'd have that opportunity to be, I guess, the original cast,
Yeah.
um, especially in the makings of it, a few
Mm,
years beforehand, before it actually comes into town,
yeah.
it's always a real blessing, to be able to hold it with both hands and really
Yeah.
get your teeth into it. So I was in a fortunate position to be able to do that. But yeah, I mean, the show did close. We had a run of just over a year,
Yeah.
and then the show did close, and I have to admit, I was, I was very sad.
Yeah.
But after after the ride that we did have, maybe somewhat relieved as well.
Mm,
However, I did agree to sign on for a further year, because
okay.
I loved the show that much, really, and I guess I put so much into it in the
Yeah.
making of creating the stepmother, where I wasn't quite ready to, I guess, let go when push came to
Mm,
shove. But the decision was made for us,
yeah.
so
Yeah. It
everything
was,
happens for a
yeah.
reason.
As you say, it was, quite well publicized, which, it's not great, but you move on, don't you? You
You
have to.
move on, absolutely.
Yeah.
Everything happens for a reason. I'm a firm believer in that.
Yeah, absolutely. So where did your love of performing come from then?
Do you know, I think I was a very shy child, like painfully shy.
Oh,
When you
really?
see those poor little children in the playground and they're just kind of wedged between, a tree and a wall, and they're just
Yeah.
kind of observing and watching everyone.
Yeah.
That was certainly me. I wasn't the most outspoken. I was quite petrified, really, as a little person. And I think what happened was, performing became my voice, where I could express myself and channel something of myself uh, into into an energy, somewhere where it became my little voice,
Yeah.
whether that was dancing, wherever it all first started off in the village hall, with ballet,
Mm,
in my little black leotard and
yeah.
ballet shoes, to then kind of picking it up a step and going to really good prestigious schools in London,
Yeah.
where I ended up being really, really lucky, and then later on graduating from. Um, so yeah, it was I guess just being able to have a little voice
Mm,
in something, and that's, I guess, where it all began for me. And I just realized how happy it made me, and then my parents ended up pushing me in that direction, because I guess
yeah.
they got a good outcome of my little personality. It was when she was,
Yeah.
throwing her arms up in the air or singing a tune, you
Yeah.
know um yeah. And then later on in life, just as an adult, that's where I just began to get more filled with confidence,
Mm,
and therefore gain a bit of a personality.
yeah.
I was a slow grower. I definitely will put my hands up and say I'm a slow grower. I
Yeah.
didn't speak much. I didn't have much to say as a child. I probably
Yeah.
had lots to say, but not much of a voice.
Yeah.
And now, as you know, I've got a
Yeah.
lot to say. So I'm
Well,
making up for
exactly.
lost time. I'm making
Exactly.
up for lost time. But
Yeah.
yeah, and I remember sitting there, my parents taking me to see Starlight Express, and I remember thinking,
Ah,
wow, I want to do that. You can do
right.
that as a job.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that one day, you know.
Yeah. Has it always been musical theatre that's been your thing?
I went to Central School of Ballet, so I was in a really, really good ballet school, and then later on went to the Erding Academy, and up until the time I graduated, Erding was a ballet school.
Oh,
Now it's gone on to another level where it's exploring and it has been exploring other realms, and like more. I think a lot of commercial dancers come out
mm,
of Erding now, and I
yeah.
think that's what
Yeah.
it's famous for now. But it was very much a ballet school, and obviously Central School of Ballet was, it was a really, really good ballet school of that time, and I was very much a ballet dancer, but it was never really too much in my heart. I think it's just something I fell into.
Mm,
I started picking up acting classes after school or on a Saturday morning, and I think that's where I really began to feel happy.
yeah.
Um, and then in the end, I went to a performing arts school and discovered those other areas, and of course there was other areas of dance like contemporary and jazz, which I enjoyed. But I
Yeah.
think for me it was always I loved singing a song, and then I loved making people laugh and making people cry. I think that's
Yeah.
that's where I felt the most alive,
Yeah.
uh, than dancing. Dancing is something I ended up being good at because I started from such a young age,
Mm,
um, but it wasn't so much in my heart. I mean, every
right.
so often I would really, really feel it, but I used to feel like I was missing out because I would look at my peers and other people in the room, and I could see how much they were getting from it, and that
Yeah.
was never really the way for me.
Yeah.
Sure, I was good at it because that's what I was trained to do, but I always wanted to explore acting,
Yeah.
and yeah, and comedy. I think I've
Yeah.
always loved comedy from very, very young age, sitting there with my dad,
Yeah.
watching people like Gary Wilmot and Jennifer Saunders
Ah,
and Dawn French and Rick Mail,
mm,
and Steve Martin, just being
ah,
so obsessed with
yes.
Steve Martin as a child.
I was
Um,
too. I
were
really
you, Steve Martin,
was. Yeah.
really?
Like all his
Yeah,
films, I used to put them on back to back. I loved him.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I just love him. Even now, I pay for a subscription for Masterclass, and Steve Martin does a
Oh, wow.
masterclass, and I've just finished watching it because
Oh,
it's just
wow.
like, yeah, revisiting that little girl that was just obsessed
Yeah.
with Steve Martin. And
Yeah.
Michael Barrymore. Gosh, I loved Michael Barrymore. Every Saturday night I would be there, hysterical, because he was such a goofball and so
Yeah.
silly. So yeah, all those. I always loved that kind of moron
Yeah.
mentality of
Yeah.
comedy, of just like people really losing their inhibition and
Yeah.
just seeing where their mental health takes them, really. It was
Yeah.
incredible to kind of watch that and pan and just see how people navigated through their lives, really, just
Mm,
all through whatever they had to say, through comedy.
yeah.
That really resonated with me from such a young age, and here I am, the girl
Yeah.
who had no voice, up there with a lot to say now, I guess.
Yeah.
At the You're at the fine age of coming up to 42 in the spring. So yeah,
Yeah. I
life,
mean, yeah. I mean, obviously, I was reading up on you beforehand, and I mean, you've been in some like massive shows. I mean, you were in Greece. You played Rizzo. What a great role that is. You were in the Heights, which we
yeah.
haven't had in this sort of country for ages. So I think that's
Mm,
another great musical that needs to come back to the West End or somewhere.
I think
I mean, do
so,
you
yeah.
sort of throughout your career has there been a favourite show of yours?
Favorite show of mine. Do you know, I have quite a few. I really enjoyed In the Heights, like just being adding to that.
Yeah.
I think In the Heights was my soul piece. It was I don't think I've ever felt so happy in a
Right.
production, because some shows I do, maybe the content isn't so upbeat and whatnot, but I still get a lot out of it. But with
Yeah.
In the Heights, it was just it was like a spiritual experience. It was the most
Wow.
amazing feeling, and I think anyone who did that show can vouch for that,
Yeah.
but I just really, really enjoyed, that show, especially for my mental health. It was just so enlightening, and
Mm.
fulfilling. But there's been other shows that I've really enjoyed. I loved playing Gypsy, Louise slash Gypsy in Gypsy the musical that was at the Curve just before it came into the West End.
Yeah.
I loved creating that role of Louise, and then
Yeah.
turning, into this woman that was Gypsy Rose Lee. What else? I enjoyed doing Murder Ballad. I don't know if many people saw that, but that was at the Arts Theatre. And
Okay.
also actually was really great because it gave me my first like Olivier nomination. And I just really enjoyed that show, but I don't know how many people really saw it. It was a funny one. It was a
Ah.
really brilliant show with Kerry Ellis, Norman Bowman, and
Oh, wow.
me and Karen Lou. And it was just a great, it was a great show. And
Yeah.
what else? I've done some cool stuff. And do you know what? I loved Cinderella. I really
Yeah.
loved
Yeah.
what we all ended up creating. But every show I've done has been, it's been it's all still a special part of me. And whether I have good memories of it or bad memories of the show or whatever, it's all added to the memory box.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as I
Character
say,
building.
yeah, the work is extensive. So when you're, I mean, are you put forward for roles now, or do you still have to go through the whole process of, auditioning like everybody else to get a role, or are you sort of picked at this stage in your career because, you've done loads of stuff?
Do you know what? I was talking about it with my husband just yesterday. I was saying, okay, so I have to be careful the way I approach this. Of course, I do still, will be seen for
Yes.
roles. I
Yes.
will be seen for roles, but I have got to the stage in my life, and I'm happy. I can share this, but I do get invited to come in and
Yeah.
be part of a production. And I
Yeah.
guess maybe being on the scene for 25 years, this is
Yeah.
something that's really good that's come out of it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
auditioning, I'm
Oh,
rubbish at it. I'm just
really?
so bad at auditioning, and I never do my best work. I mean, I always take my hat off to people that are brilliant in auditions. I think maybe when I was younger I was better at auditioning, but I really cannot stand it. So when I do get invited to come in and be part of a production, and or they'll pitch it to me and I'll have a meeting and
Yeah.
stuff, I have to admit it really does great for my knees, because my knees aren't rattling because I know I'm needed or required and wanted.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
definitely a perk. That's definitely a perk.
Yeah.
But yeah, still, I mean, I did a couple of auditions just over the last couple of months, and it's just my least favorite thing to do.
Oh.
I never do my best work. It's my least favorite thing. So yeah, but a
Yeah.
bit of both. I still do audition, but not that much.
Not as much. Yeah.
How I once did. Yeah,
Sure. Yeah, sure.
the perk.
Okay. So it's sort of going back quickly now to a Bronco Billy. You open next
Yeah.
week. So you've got your Stitz probe today, which
Yes.
I'm sure will be fantastic. I mean, what's it like the first time that you're with the, orchestra or band? I mean, what's it like standing there and singing out with a live band?
It's always such a brilliant experience, and it's when everything that you've been rehearsing, has put suddenly flavor and spice comes into it. The beat comes into it, the
Mm,
the rhythm, and just the overall good feeling and energy of the
mm,
piece. I always find it quite an emotional experience, and a lot of people do, where you just, song after song, you just get the goosebumps. And another thing, what I just love about this industry is that, you know, being a creative, everyone's on the same page,
mm.
where this job just really kind of every emotion that you're feeling is it's our job to bring it to the surface, and feel it for people who maybe necessarily find it difficult to feel,
Mm.
or because they don't necessarily feel safe maybe in their own job to feel openly sad or openly happy without looking crazy.
Mm.
In our job, we've got this safe space, this agreement where we can bring those emotions to the table,
Yeah.
and it's celebrated, and it's certainly not frowned upon.
Mm.
And there's nothing better than being in a room full of people who are all on the same page as you, and you're openly crying together and you're openly laughing together where snot is coming out of your nose, or your coffee, and because you sip the coffee at the wrong time when someone made you laugh.
Yeah.
You know, that is what I just love about this industry so much, that we are so allowed to just express however we're feeling,
Yeah. Yeah.
be it good or bad.
Yeah.
Um, So, sorry, blabbering along a little
No,
bit
no.
there.
I mean, you know, as an audience member, as I am
Yeah.
many times, it's wonderful to have the passion
Mm,
that you all have to be able to provide that for us. You know, that's what we come to the theatre for, isn't it? Sort of escapism. And I think
yeah.
somebody who sat through umpteen shows, dread to think how many, but you know, it's that
Yeah.
feeling of coming out of a show and just feeling different than when you went in. And I think it's
Yeah.
testament to all of you as performers that you're able to
Mm.
provide that for us.
Yeah, no, that's great. And also because it can really hit people, and you see
Yeah,
it
yeah,
as someone on stage, to someone in the audience, and you can see how they're touched by something or they're
yeah,
overwhelmed by something. And
yeah.
maybe they've been carrying something for the last day or two or week or
Mm,
years, and something's resonated with them, and
yeah,
then you can just and that's what I love. Also the fact that we're going into a small theatre, because
yeah.
sometimes if the theatre is a larger theatre, it's such a big scale where certain things and certain feelings can get a little bit lost between those on stage and those in the audience. What's great about a small house is
Mm,
that you're in on it together. It's like being
yeah,
in your back room, it's like a living room experience where they're more up close, so you can see their face, you can
yeah,
call them out, you can look
yeah,
at them in the eye, and
yeah.
play things to them,
Mm,
um and enjoy that and relish that. And I really enjoy smaller houses, smaller theaters, for
yeah,
that very reason.
yeah, exactly. It's much more intimate.
Like a joke among, yeah, more intimate, and a joke among friends, or
Yeah, yeah,
sharing something sad amongst friends.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, exactly. That's brilliant. So Bronco Billy opens next week, the 23rd of January, up until the 7th of April at Charing Cross Theatre, as you've said. Wishing you all the best with it. It does sound fantastic. You've totally sold it to me. So hopefully I'll pop along and have a look at it. But thank you so much for your time today. Enjoy the Stitz Probe.
Thank you.
And
Oh,
thank
amazing. Thank you so much, and have
You're
the best day. It's
welcome.
been brilliant talking to you.
You're welcome. Take care.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.